In that the string spacing is, the same as a guitar. I mean, even the tuning machines are actually guitar ones.
Just to keep the sound.
But it's got super heavy strings on it, and it's actually a little bit longer than a guitar, kind of like a Fender. The scale length is like 25.5 from the nut to the bridge, and this one is actually just over 30, so it's a little bit longer. It's not as long as an actual bass guitar, which is more like about 34 for a Fender. But this particular one, I tune a whole octave below a normal guitar. So the low E is the same E that you'd find on a bass, and it's just so it is actually tuned like a guitar but an octave lower. I mean, it sounds particularly great with tremolo. Instant Twin Peaks. I can play it. I mean, some people tend to tune it not down as low as this. Some people tune it from just like from B down to low B, so that would be their lowest note. Some people tune it down to A. The advantage of that is that you can still play kind of like guitar-y licks on it as well, and then just you've got a few low notes as well. With this one, you wouldn't really play chords on it. I mean, if I sort of played especially in with the mix with the rest of the band, it's going to be really muddy and messy.
Single notes. Really.
So you're either playing like single note riffs, or I mean, you can play like chords quite high up on the neck, which can sound. But literally, that's just the top 3 strings. But it can give you some nice bit of variation from that. I mean, again, this is another instrument that's got several names depending on what you're doing with it. I mean, a lot of people, this I suppose would be called a 6-string bass because it's got 6 strings and it's down in bass tuning. But there's also another instrument called a 6-string bass, which is like a really serious bass guitar, which is like really thick, wide spacing on the neck, and in fact, exactly. So I don't really call it that because everyone assumes that's what I mean.
It's not really.
So it's more a baritone guitar than a bass. But the thing that I like to call it is there was a guy back in the this initially Danny Electro brought this instrument out in about 1956. This is a much more modern one made by a guy called Jerry Jones in Nashville in the 90s. But the original Danny Electro one came out in 1956, and they started using it in a lot of the early recording sessions, like going back to Patsy Cline and stuff like that. And there was a guy called Harold Bradley who was one of the session players who used it, and what they would do is he'd actually play the same as what the double bass was playing, but with a really muted tone, so they'd actually be sort of playing. And he used to call that a tic-tac bass, and I reckon if it's good enough for Harold Bradley, it's good enough for me. So I like to call it, I often call it a tic-tac bass because that's really what it is, because it gets that kind of tic-tac sound. But if you listen to old, especially country recordings from the 50s, you'll hear it on loads of stuff, doubling up with the a lot of it wouldn't have even had drums on it, but it would have an upright double bass, and then one of these just playing the same line, giving that really kind of percussive sound to it. And in fact, it also became really popular over on the West Coast with the Wrecking Crew, which were the guys in the 60s who were like the session players that played on just about everything. I mean, Glenn Campbell was one of the guys, and on it's really famous on that solo on Wichita Line. And he actually borrowed Carol Kay was the kind of bass player on that session, and she had one of these because a lot of the session players used to double on this as well as their regular instrument, and he borrowed her Dan Electro and played the solo on that, and the rest was history. I can't play that, can't play how it goes. But that's one of the kind of classic uses
really,
of it. And you kind of,
solos.
it's a great solo for it sounding. But once you start hearing it, I mean, it's on loads of the Elvis stuff. You kind of hear it on sort of stuff like on on Little Sister. You can sort of hear there's one of these that go. And a lot of his especially his 60s stuff, you'll hear a lot of tic-tac bass going on. And in fact, on the Elvis stuff, a lot of it was played by Scotty Moore because
Elvis's guitar.
Well, he was the original guitar player with Elvis on the early Sun stuff, but he actually kind of stopped playing with him as a regular member of his band. And they started getting some of the other session guys in, but he was still on a lot of the early sort of RCA sessions that were recorded in Nashville. And they had people like Hank Garland would be playing the kind of lead part, but Scotty would be there and he'd be playing guitar on some of the stuff, but he'd be quite often playing stuff on the baritone or the tic-tac bass, which is pretty cool as well. So an underused instrument, but not really anything new because, as I say, it's been around since 1956. And
there's a Dan Electro one, isn't it?
Yeah, that would have been a Dan Electro. I mean, this one is effectively a copy of a Dan Electro. I mean, the other thing that's quite interesting about it is that the Dan Electro was a real budget instrument.
It's
in
quite
fact,
cheap, isn't it?
this is made in the same way as the Dan Electro, in that it's got there's a framework in there which I think is made of probably pine or something, but the front and back is actually made of what in America they call masonite, and what in England we call hardboard. It's literally just hardboard front and back. And I think that contributes to the sound of it, and it's got like a real, just like a wooden bridge, which is very unusual on any kind of an electric guitar. And I think these pickups were actually made out of the guy Dan Electro got a job lot of lipstick tube from a lipstick factory, and he built pickups into them, and that's why these are called lipstick tube pickups. And in fact, you can see that there's actually a kind of gap halfway through, and that's actually two lipstick tubes put together. And it just they just hit on this amazing sound that nobody else.
I'm guessing they're not lipstick tubes in this one.
I don't know what they. I mean, I think they now. Guitar manufacturers now make them, but the original ones were actually made of lipstick tubes. But these would have been made as pickups. But I just love the fact that it's made out of such simple, sort of cheap instruments, and also the fact that it's hollow in the middle means it's a nice light instrument as well.
It's like
and then they've just stuck some electrical tape along the side of it to to make it as cheaply as possible, really. But it does its job.
cool.
I mean, Fender actually brought their version of it out in the early 60s, just because the Dan Electro ones were so popular, and they decided to introduce one called the Bass 6 into their range. But to be honest, I still prefer the sound of the Dan Electros. I mean, the Bass 6s sound great and they look cool. But for my money, Dan Electro all the way, or Dan Electro style.
Cool.